This is the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast, session number 91. Matt Hale on serving suggestions.
Welcome to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast with Jason Linett, your professional resource for hypnosis training and outstanding business success. Here's your host, Jason Linett.
Hello and welcome. It's Jason Linett here. Welcome you to the December 22nd session. This is session number 91, just before the Christmas holidays here in the U.S. And I have to, I maybe have to explain the beginning of this podcast session. As is usual, the trend, and you'll hear this reiterated as we're about to jump in, some of my favorite sessions of this Work Smart Hypnosis series have been ones where you're capturing the very first interaction with that person that I've actually ever had. So, you know, the conversation with Jonathan Chase comes to mind, that it was the very first time we ever talked. The interaction with Anthony Gailey was the very first time we ever talked. Now, there's an exception to this, that Matt Hale is a stage hypnotist, comedy hypnotist out of Australia, that he and I go back maybe to 2007. And here we are, like 9 years later, finally having a real conversation via Skype. So the setup to this was all the banter of the fact that he's 13 hours ahead. So there were all sorts of references to wonderful things happening in the future and all sorts of odd puns back and forth. So we're gonna bring this as you're actually going to hear the entire conversation from start to finish, because worthwhile. Some points that I really want to highlight inside of here. First of all, the reason that I reached out to Matt to have him on here is that, again, my passion to this is people that are taking this work of hypnosis and just doing that little bit of an extra twist in a different direction to find their own unique flavor, their own unique style, their own unique approach to it. You know, there's an interesting aspect where the entire thing becomes so original that it really can't be emulated. It can't be modeled. It can't be, to use a negative term, ripped off. I'd give a reference. Some of you might have some interest in the magic community. And even if you don't, look up this guy online on YouTube. His name is Mac King, M-A-C and then King. And he does this show as kind of this country bumpkin character. And I mean, the entire act from start to finish is kind of this guy who is so unassuming, unalarming, is doing these outstanding, incredible magic feats. And you can't steal one aspect of his act because the entire thing is so original that why the heck would you suddenly be magically producing a giant Fig Newton? And if that's not enough to get you to go off and Google his name, I don't know what else will. And somehow Fig Newtons is the transition here to Matt Hale. That, as I've seen the projects that Matt has done over the years, which again, you'll hear me ask him about the transition of one night doing a show on basically a dirt floor, and the next night doing a show in a very, very elite corporate audience, doing television and media around the world, branding his theater shows and fringe festival shows in rather unique ways. And what you're going to hear us really highlight is the successful strategy of positioning ourselves in a way that we've got to make it work. You know, so you're going to hear how he had booked his first couple of shows before really knowing what he was doing. And that's been a mindset that's popped up several times in several conversations here. I would highlight a former student of mine that was a firefighter that from day one of the hypnosis training just took off running and really got it, really understood it. And from his background, he kind of verbalized it in a unique way. He goes, I'm going into an emergency, and whatever I'm going to say is going to stick. So I need to make sure that when I'm speaking with authority, I'm speaking with intention, and I may not be the right person to solve that issue, yet it's my responsibility to be there and take care of things until I can get them to the right place. So he's in an environment, as he said, where he's not allowed to stop and say, whoops. Whatever he says, that's what was supposed to be there. It's the way that, you know, in terms of improvisational acting, not just the improv comedy, give us a funny prompt, we'll do something with it. But even in terms of dramatic improvisational sort of rehearsal strategies, the whole mindset of yes and. that as soon as it's out there, as soon as it's in the environment, this is just what it is and we're going to make it work. And as I interact with hypnotists around the world, whether it's people that are getting started or people that I have conversations with, whether on this program or elsewhere, it's that mindset of, we're going to make this thing work. We're going to go somewhere together and let's see what happens. So borrowing the term of his current project, let's jump right in. This is an outstanding one. Listen and have fun. I'm having this conversation around 9 o'clock before going to bed. And as Matt's sending me images of him walking his dog at 10 in the morning, his time, the wonders of time travel in international time zones. Here we go. Session number 91, Matt Hale on serving suggestions.
Hello.
Hey there. How's it going?
How you going?
I've never had the guts to do something, and the thought was always, you go into like a bar, and like a really cool bar that usually has all sorts of creative drinks. I used to live downtown Baltimore, and they had like the sort of bar where they were doing things with like liquid nitrogen and freezing shots right there in front of you.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was just come up with the most offensive names for a drink possible, but just say them with the straightest face possible, just to see what they would say, just to see what they would serve you.
You know what? You can. I reckon you definitely get away with it in a couple of places I know.
The hotel bar, not so much, where they typically make one of 4 drinks, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. But there's the kind of places I think, shit, we don't. Oh, I can't admit to not knowing this one. What's in that one again?
Yes, could I get a
so you're all good?
Yeah, let me get a shaved raccoon straight.
Yeah.
Just see what would happen.
Cool. So you're obviously at home, taking it easy.
Yeah, I the fun of this time of year, I taught a class all day, and then did some projects, and then came home and did bath time, bedtime with the kids, and here we go, the wonders of time travel, where there you are in the robot with the robot future.
Yeah. All good. And you can hear me okay, can you?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay, great, easy. Yeah.
That's always the fun of the audio medium. And hey, let's do this one right. I've actually already been recording, and we're going to air this segment here. The cool thing about this is that you and I have known each other for quite some time by way of, as I say, being best friends online.
Yeah.
By wonders. I think we connected first with Stage Hypnosis Center, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but you're one of those people I feel that you are someone that I know when we hang out, but we actually don't.
Yeah, never actually met in person. And I've always found, let this be a comment back to some of the previous podcast sessions, I think some of the best ones are where we're capturing the absolute first conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the direction of this is that, again, usually this tends to be just, we'll have a chat and see where it goes. There's some things that I want to kind of get some updates on and projects that you're doing that I find interesting. And we typically begin with that superhero origin story. So what was the story before getting into hypnosis for you?
Well, like where I kind of started out
where it all
before
started.
Hypnosis.
Right.
Oh my god! I'm a real mixed bag. I started DJing when I was 15, and then at 18 I started working in clubs around the world. I got a place in uni, but I also got at the same time I got a contract to work a club in Greece. So I went, maybe I'll just go and do that and come back after a year and then do uni. But of course, you do the club in Greece, and they give you another contract somewhere else. I'm like, no, well, I could hold off uni for another year, surely. So consequently, that was my my deterioration of never going to uni. But I ended up.
Just to jump in, was there original focus, a direction you thought you were going before?
Yeah, look, I was always interested in media as such, and also the performance side of things. And so I'd actually secured a place at uni, and that was in media studies. So it was all going where I wanted to be. But I'd also started in radio as well. I'd started working community radio as a 15-year-old. So then I just started DJing around the world, and then also I ended up, after a few years, going back to the UK and doing radio So just to also just to kind of clarify a couple of things, I'm originally from the UK, but I've now spent 19 years in Australia. So I live in Australia now. So I have a very mixed accent. I fit in absolutely nowhere now. So. but yeah, but I was also along the way, I was always really fascinated in the mind, and I remember seeing a guy called Dominic O'Brien, a memory master, actually doing some kind of memory feat on TV. And I'm the kind of person I always used to think, yeah, I can probably do that. I mean, it looked impossible, but I just thought, there's a man doing that thing. I can probably do it. Right.
Yeah,
So he'd written a book. So I read the book, and once I learned the techniques and the hows and whys, and all the things that needed to fall into place, I would do this strange memory feat. And so it was a fascination with the mind and how the mind works, and just how these little techniques you could use. But also at the same time, I had this kind of career which was just really fun and really amazing. And I end up working in the US, you call it morning radio. In the UK, in Australia, we call it breakfast radio. So like really great kind of the great kind of commercial radio show type crazy crew, you're doing crazy stuff. Hey, let's laugh at everything. And hey, why don't you go out and do this? So yeah, I would do stuff, and we'd interview anyone from, the Spice Girls to Matt Damon. And just I would do all the kind of stunt type stuff, getting strapped to the bonnet of a hood of a car and getting driven through the wall of death, flaming wall and stuff. Like the crazy stuff.
Like
so
you do.
Yeah. So I did radio for a number of years in the UK and Australia, but eventually my fascination with hypnosis, which had been a fascination and interest for a long time, it just got the better of me, and I didn't want to wonder anymore. And at the end of 2007, I quit radio, to the complete amazement of absolutely everyone, who went like, hang on, you're getting out this really incredibly amazing job to do what? Right, so you're going to do a hypnosis show. Okay, right, okay. So, yeah, and that's where I transitioned, about 2007.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of points to highlight inside of that I love the aspect of seeing. I mean, first it was the memory act, and to look at something and go, that's incredible, that's impossible, yet still at the same time go, I bet I could do that.
Yeah, it's really strange. I now realise it's not the most common way of looking at things. It's normally the opposite. But I do realise from kind of the things I've done that along the way I've had this kind of focus or this just outlook where I would see stuff and think, yeah, I could probably do that. Now, of course, along the way I do prove myself wrong occasionally.
Right. Yeah.
but it's,
we call those learning lessons.
Yeah. But it's definitely better than thinking, wow, that looks amazing. I bet I couldn't do that. And occasionally proving yourself wrong, which means you get a couple of wins along the way. So it's kind of the flip of that.
I mean, there's a story of mine that comes to mind that I forget if this has ever popped up here in any of the podcast sessions, that here we are, I think we're number 91 in. And it's a moment during a class where... Hang on.
Are you telling me that I get to do the 91st?
You get to do the 91st.
I was like, the 91st. Oh man,
I know that's the one to do.
Yeah.
I
know. Anyway, sorry.
Other people got anyway. So it's in the middle of a class, and there's a moment where something is happening that one part of my brain is going, Jason, shut up and just take the compliment. And another part of my brain is going, something's wrong with this and you need to explore it. Where I have a student in the class who every demo, you and I have a similar lineage, that from your version of the story with radio was me working in management in theater, the less sexy side of theatrical arts, where I was behind the scenes. I could claim wizard behind the curtain, but really you were mostly mopping stages and setting up props.
Right.
But the same point in time where things were successful, and the phrase I love is, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it the rest of your life. And it's a student who's going, oh, I am so glad you left that theater career. You were made to do this. You are so good. And again, one part of the brain is going, just shut up and take the compliment. And the other part is realizing gradually it's this person playing the mental pattern of, that is really good and I can't do that. As opposed to, I know he's toured out in Australia, mentalist by the name of Mark Salem. That
Oh, okay. No, I know the name, but I've not seen him.
He gives a
or come across him.
disclaimer at the end of his act. He does a mental magic show, and the disclaimer at the end is basically along the lines, if I remember it right, a 5-year-old could do everything you've just seen me do. But the kicker is after 40 years of professional training and experience.
Yeah.
So it's presenting the idea that everything was simple, yet it can be learned.
Yeah. Well, I like that, and that's kind of I get asked a lot in radio interviews. I do a hell of a lot of radio interviews when I travel with my show, and you do get asked the same questions all the time, and sometimes you make up funny answers just to amuse yourself, but most of the time I try and stay on book, so to speak. But yeah, one of the things people do ask is like, were you born with this kind of thing? And it is quite an amazing thing. I don't hide the fact that it's a learned ability, and I say, anyone, so I do explain to people, look, some people are more suited to it for sure. Someone's tried to teach me how to play the piano once. I'd love to play the piano well. I just didn't find I was, really, that naturally gifted to kind of play it properly. And it's probably the same with what I do. I just found, hey, I was probably a bit more attuned to it, but it's certainly just pinning skills, learned skills, rather than just like being an absolute natural. It just came to me, which is certainly not the case.
Though at the same time, there are, there's the concept of, I try to remember who had the phrase, someone will correct me on the credit, but the concept of soft skills, that there are things that we might have done in other careers that lend its nature over to what we're doing now. So I've met many people over the years that came from a DJing background, that the concept of directing the focus of the audience and keeping that momentum going. The aspect of part of what I used to do in theater was to be the Excel document junkie and know the exact ins and outs of when every single prop came on the stage and when it left, which is now how, I nerd out over programming a webinar all in one swipe. And it's basically the same strategy. That transition, though, from one career that was successful, you're now getting started in hypnosis. What was kind of that footing in terms of getting things up and running?
Well, to take it way back, I took part in a hypnosis show when I was 21 in the UK, and I loved that experience so much that, at the end of that, again, I was like, man, that was amazing. That was great. Wow. Yeah. How do I do that? I can probably do it. Right? And so, my first books, because I'm kind of in my 40s now, so that was pre-internet, pre-DVDs. So my first dealings with was like knew no one in that kind of world, and the only things I could get my hands on was things I can get from the libraries or libraries nearby. And so I can't even remember which books I did originally get, but I would just pick up any books which had anything about hypnosis in them, and then kind of just try things with people. So that was, and so it was more of a party trick for a little while. But when I kind of really wanted to formalize things many years later, a lot of things started to fall into place. And I contacted Jeffrey Ronning, and because I knew he was good with the stage stuff, and because I didn't want to just kind of like try and just put something together and just guess at it. So I kind of think, well, who does really well at this? And certainly then it was Jeffrey Ronning, and I seemed to have a fantastic raft of people who'd gone through and used his products and stuff, and so I kind of used that kind of thing for the stage side of things to get myself up and running. And I also kind of integrated with a lot of other people around the world, and especially Anthony Jacquin and the head hacking crew at the time there as well, who are now great friends. And I guess they were my first kind of, so the head hacking guys and Jeffrey Ronning and anyone involved in that stage hypnosis center at the time, like yourself, they were the first kind of contact I'd had with other guys doing the similar kind of things, rather than me bumbling around on my own trying to make it up. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of in my transitional period.
Yeah, so then from that journey to getting it up and running, I mean, what types of, and most of your time, correct me, most of your time has been, if not all, stage hypnosis, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've done the one of the certifications for hypnotherapy, and that was good, because along the way, obviously it's great because I would see people and help them quit smoking and all the usual things. But my focus was on the stage, and I would use the other side just to, kind of buffer the the lack of money through lack of shows. Because of course, when you make that kind of career change, midlife, you don't go from 0 shows to paying your mortgage again overnight. So, I would do everything I could while I was, building up the show work and also outside hypnosis. I mean, I'm a big, I love my surfing. So I did a surf instructing course and I would teach people how to surf in the mornings. And then in the evenings, I'd do the shows as and when I could book them. And then, as I did more shows, I could drop off the hosting quiz nights and teaching surfing to do more shows and until it kind of finally transitioned and seeing a few clients along the way, of course.
Yeah. And let's jump around a little bit because I'd share that I'll phrase it 2 different ways. One way by just, keeping track of what you've been up to over the years online. We can also paraphrase that as stalking you while you sleep. Well, it's okay. It's 9 p.m. here. It's 10 a.m. there. So it's a fair statement. So no, but the transition that I can see that you do a lot with social media, you do a lot with updating in terms of what you're doing. And what I'd love to kind of hear your take on is that transition where here you are one night and it's a photo of a show and it's folding chairs, basically either on dirt or sand in some outdoor venue. And the next day, here's this really, really posh corporate arena.
Yes. Yeah. And sorry. And
yeah, go ahead.
So you're saying that's what you're still seeing? Is that what you're saying?
I was seeing that for a while. I don't know if that's been a more recent thing, but just kind of that transition of it's how, we'd often look at it being, there's some people that would be, I do stage hypnosis and I also see clients. Yet here you are in the entertainment side, yet working just a wide range. And I'm just curious, kind of working that range, if there's a strategy behind it, what fascinates you about it? In terms of just that variety of venue.
Yeah, actually, it's really interesting, right? Because now this is a strange little fact, but I live in Perth, Western Australia. Now, if you Google Perth, it is actually classed as one of the most isolated cities in the world. It's the furthest away from the next major city. Adelaide is our next major city, and that is 3,200 kilometres away. So, it's a fair distance. So, it's very hard to go, well, I'm going to do this niche and stay here. So to start with, it was out of necessity. I would kind of obviously do whatever show I could get booked in. Now, obviously, we'd all love to be performing on these beautiful stages to hundreds of people in a nice corporate event with everyone sat down in a black tie and just perfectly quiet and loving the show and that kind of thing. But, I didn't have that luxury to be able to say, right, I'm going to start and just do those gigs. So I would do from the start, I would put on shows in, bars or anywhere I could do them, sports clubs and that kind of thing, and then start to build up into the more corporate arena. Now I certainly do. Most of my work is in the corporate, but the funny thing is you will still occasionally see a photo of me, with 12 chairs with, the Aussie Outback in the background. I'm outside. It's the logistics for a hypno show are almost impossible, but I can probably do it. And I think I can do it. And that's because I get these strange inquiries sometimes. Can you fly out and entertain all our mine site workers in remote Australia? And I'm kind of like, yeah, sure. And so I go out there and do that. And certainly it's not a nice stage, and it's not I'm dealing with guys who have literally just been deposited back into the bar area after 11 hours in a mine site. And but I will tell you this, that's still a show that pays me some good money to do a show. So, it may not look as glamorous sometimes, but I still will do those shows if I get asked to do them. And in fact, I'll do most shows if it's financially viable, I'll do. But obviously, the more popular I've got over the last few years, it's nice to be able to kind of say, well, I'd prefer to do this show than something else. So,
although to look at that again, to kind of pull out some sort of strategy of it, seeing the memory act, seeing the stage hypnosis show, being a part of it, and that mindset of that's incredible. I bet I can do that. I tend to find across the board as I chat with people this mindset of I'm going to position myself in a way that I've got to figure this thing out as I go.
Yeah.
You know, when the one that's not quite as
yeah,
successful is still kind of in that incubation phase of, well, what
yeah,
if this happens? What if that happens?
yeah, yeah. Well, and that was the same, and it's actually the same for my very first show. I booked myself a hypnosis show without knowing how to do a hypnosis show.
Hmm.
And now, with always the thought in my mind, I want to do this, and I'd already quit my work, and I was, I'm going to put this together soon, and and I started talking the talk of that. Oh, this is what I'm going to do, and someone said, "Oh, great! If you're doing that show, we'd love to use you for this." And I was okay, yeah, that'd be great. And they said, "Yeah, it's in like 6 weeks' time," and I was like, "Yeah, sure, right, yeah." And that's when I kind of went off and went, "Oh no, holy crap! Okay, I really do have to do this now." And so so I booked my first show without having a show, but it kind of I really went really heavy on trying to make sure I had the best product, for me at that point. By the time it got to that 6 weeks.
I mean, there's something about putting that pressure on it of, I don't know if you, over here, one of the primary markets that I worked for a while was working with high schools, primarily the fundraising model. And it was a funny thing that I eventually started offering two different products. One of them was the ticket split fundraiser. Based on the number of tickets, it's a no-risk fundraiser. You don't owe me anything if you don't sell any tickets. But based on the number of tickets, this is how we would split the profits. And if that sounded a little too complicated to try to figure out, of counting tickets and everything, look, you can just buy this show for this amount. Basically, whatever you earned after that amount, that's all yours to keep. And over time, it was that discovery that the groups that would just outright just buy the show, those were the only audience.
Right, okay.
Those were the only groups that would sell out the entire auditorium and make a ton of money. Because it was that shift of mindset versus it'd be nice to earn some funds for softball team. Oddly enough, it seems there are still a ton, I don't know if this is converted around the world, but there are still a bunch of high school softball girls teams called Lady Cougars.
Right, is that right?
They need to update that. No, but again, it'd be nice if, seriously, look into it. But it's, again, this place of it'd be nice to earn the money versus, no, we've got to sell 120 tickets to break even. And that's the group that would just outsell the entire space. So it's my story was opening up Virginia Hypnosis, the practice that I run, and signing the big scary lease and going, okay, make this work. As opposed to dipping the toes in and going, well, I think, to bring it to your side, I think I'll go surfing, but let me just hold the board and get up it to my ankles.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
As opposed to, I'm out in the water, the wave is carrying me, I got to figure out a way to get back to shore without dying.
Now I'm going to work this out,
No, but I mean, it's an amazing motivation strategy to position ourselves in a way which there were some TV projects that you've done that, back to that media job on the radio, you really didn't have that opportunity to go, in most cases, oh, wait, let me do that again.
No, and actually that's true. I think maybe working in that live situation for years, what goes to air goes to air, and there's no, hey, can we edit that? Can we redo that? There was so much of that. So now it's kind of straight. Like I said, I do a lot of radio interviews. Occasionally we do some TV work. And, occasionally I'll do some live TV stuff, which, again, there's that kind of flicker in my mind is like, well, we can't do this again. I could look ridiculous in the face of, 3 million viewers across Australia if this guy doesn't do X or whatever, So, but it's, I do still have that belief that, but I can probably do it. Everything else is kind of, so, I also don't really have much, I don't really put much emotional value into, the what if scenario, as in, it's not really going to be that bad, right? Even if I was on national TV and, this guy who was apparently hypnotized did not do X and, then this happened and this, well then, it's not going to suddenly cancel all my show bookings for the year, and it's not going to, there'll be another TV show, there'll be another radio interview where it's going to be hilarious and fantastic. So, I don't involve myself too much in, I know the possibility of things not going the way I want is there, but it doesn't really, occupy my mind too much.
Right. So is there some sort of strategy, some sort of technique you're bringing to anything you're doing with radio, whether it's radio or TV, to more to perhaps bring it to be more of a success? If there's a specific strategy that you're kind of employing to make that work, as I like to say, more good or better?
Yeah. I'm always striving to make things more gooder, and and yeah, of course, I'm gonna stack the odds as much as I can in my favour.
What I'm getting at.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm never going to go, hey, just bring me someone and we'll try and hypnotise them on air, and hopefully it'll work, and blah blah blah. So in those situations, yeah, for sure, I will. For example, I'll request a number of people to talk with off air. And I'll explain, it's some people may need longer than we have on air. Some people may need a different technique than I'm going to use on air. And so if you give me at least 2 or 3 people, I can work out, who's going to be great to use. It's in your interest to use the best person on air for your show, as well as it is as much for me having a successful outcome. So, I would deal with a few people, and then I'll work out from there who's going to be the great one to use on air, or occasionally, maybe more than one. And I'll kind of outline before, basically what we're going to do, and how it's meant to look and feel, and it's like I'm doing a mini pre-talk, off air with whoever I'm working with. I'm never going to go on cold. That's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to go on cold, and I'm not going to put myself into a challenge situation where it's like, hey, we've got the hypnotist, and guess what? But you can't challenge this guy. He doesn't want to be, that kind of thing. So. Because, of course, they'll be correct. I won't be able to hypnotize that guy because, he'll be like, I'm not going to listen to anything you're saying. I'm not going to do anything you're going to ask me to. So, I'm going to engage people who want to take part, go over as much as I can before.
How often would you find yourself actually doing the hypnosis in some form on air versus doing it off air? And then, as the spot begins, they're kind of coming into the action as it's already in motion.
Most of the time, I do an induction off air. See, a broadcast law over here. Broadcast law is you're not allowed to broadcast an induction on air legally. So that dictates somewhat anyway. So I will do an induction off air, and then do a re-induction on air. So so I've already discovered who's going to be great for the interview, and then there's no reason for the most odds that this guy's not going to go back in and out quite easily, once we get on air.
Right.
Occasionally maybe, but hey, that's what happens sometimes.
Well, again, it's that mindset of stacking the deck in our favor. There's a similar through line in terms of, I love the mindset of it's within our ethical responsibility to use every skill we have to make sure the client is a success.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I'm always, I try and make what I do not a mystery. I try and strip it down to, hey, this is because of this and because of that. You know enough about me that I can't get away with being like, I'm here to control your mind and this is all powerful, almighty. I wouldn't be able to get away with that kind of presentation anyway. So it's nice. I genuinely like people. I genuinely love chatting to people. So when I get my guys who are potential volunteers to use on air, I'm going to create some kind of rapport, not because I'm checking off create rapport with these guys now. I'm literally, I want to find out about them. Hey, make them feel comfortable with me, and let's go on air and have some fun, stop any kind of mental block for them being worried about what they may do.
Got it. So there's a combination of the previous experience with the current experience, and correct me on the name, the project of Hypnosis.
Oh, Hypnosis, yes.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Okay, so this is interesting because so I obviously make my money doing my my stage hypnosis show. I travel all over now. We tour the UK, Asia, Australia, where I'm based. I work on the big cruise lines. We do public shows, corporate shows, all this kind of thing. But at the same time, in the last couple of years, it's something that's been rattling around in my head. I just always thought, because I still love to DJ when I can, 20 years on or whatever. I just don't get the opportunity to do so much. But I always thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool to kind of actually combine the two? Because, when I look back on when I was DJing a lot, you would see people trance out. And, we have words in the dance music scene, trance music, hypnotic beats, and all these are not by accident. They're not just tags they've been put on. It's because, it is, if I thought about it, or when I started to think about it, it's like, yeah, people are, getting lost in the music. They are trancing out. They are getting, zoned out by these hypnotic beats. And so I just suddenly thought, well, why not combine the both and actually make this something that happens by choice and not by chance, So it's not, they're not accidentally going into this kind of zoned out type of dance mode. Let's actually make this happen by combining what I now know about hypnosis and how the kind of mind's working and reacting. So I put together this. It's not a show, but we do it as a show situation. So it's not like a whole club night. It's a 60-minute experience. It's called the Clubnosis Experience. I explain it as it's hypnosis plus house music fusion. So yeah, I'm DJing. I'm doing basically a 60-minute DJ set, but at the same time, I'm talking over a lot of the stuff and guiding people into some kind of visualization. So it's like a 60-minute visualization to dance music. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
But again, it was one of those things where when I wanted to do the stage show, of course there's a template for that. It has been done before, and although I'd like to think the way I do it is different to if I see you do yours or see someone else do theirs or something. There will be a lot of us, me included, who will still use the same kind of thing. Okay, we'll do a free talk, then we'll get the volunteers up, and then we'll do induction, then we'll do the routines. But for what I had with the Clubnosis experience, this was really just something that was in my head, and the only way I could find out if it worked or not was to do it. So I booked myself 3 nights of doing this at a big arts festival earlier this year. And just went for it. We sold tickets and, did this for 3 nights and it was basically proof of concept. So that's now led to me later this month playing a very big music festival with it and then going back to the same fringe festival next year and doing 10 shows this time. So, yeah, it's an interesting experience. It's an interesting thing for me. It's kind of like a pet project. Commercially it's not it's not great, but it's just really creatively for me. I love it.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of opening up a market that many people wouldn't have considered, and it's funny that when we talk about the word trance, different communities have different perceptions of that word, and just that combination of, well, for us it's this, and for that community it's that, but here's the cross line, here's the crossover. Yeah. How have people been responding to that so far? Yeah, well, because it's a very different audience, I'm dealing with predominantly a clubbing audience, guys who either currently go clubbing or were clubbers in the past. So they're not guys who are like, let's go out and see a comedy show. They're people who love their music and just love the idea of this uses their entertainment of choice in a different way. So it's interesting though. So they may not have had any kind of hypnotic experience before, but this isn't where I'm pulling people up onto a stage and doing stuff. It's a kind of a whole venue experience, which is explained and how we put it together. But, it is strange for some people because they haven't experienced something like this on purpose before. Although they may have had the same feelings, the same kind of immersion in their own thoughts or the music, they haven't done it on purpose before. It's just been as a byproduct of being at a club. So to actually direct their attention to certain things and to the beat and what's happening and tying that and anchoring things and triggering things and making, certain things happen, catalepsy, all these different things. But in the context of a club situation is bizarre, right? Is there a specific moment that you can kind of describe that has one of those sort of phenomenal moments inside of it?
Oh yeah, for me it was. Yeah, because I know we hear it so many times in dance music songs, put your hands up in the air or, sometimes put the hands in the air, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I thought, hey, wouldn't it be funny if I got those arms to raise automatically? So again, this was just, hey, this is a funny thing in my mind. I can probably do this. But when it actually happened, it was crazy, because as part of the thing, it was, I wanted this to be a subconscious thing that happened and not like, hey guys, now just put your hands in the air. I wanted to draw attention to the fact that as you focus on this and certain other things, then you may start to find your arms starting to raise, and of course, I'm soundtracking the music in a very, very specific way with my knowledge of hypnosis, but also more importantly, probably my knowledge of the music. So, this is really heavily timed on the music and the words. But yeah, the first night I did this, I was like, oh, look at that, it actually works. So it was quite a moment. But, definitely even from that first night, I had so many variables that I actually hadn't thought of that changed from that point on as well.
Which I'm curious if that leads into just the creative process, because I know there's a sense of branding in some of the projects that you've done. I know you've done there's a Friends show about no chickens allowed or something of that nature.
So what happened was I started to do this funny kind of a little tagline on all my shows and my marketing, which was 100% chicken free guaranteed, because as we all know as hypnotists, more often than not, if you get introduced to someone who is a hypnotist, there's still a lot of people out there who go, oh, don't turn me into a chicken, or you turn up at a show, oh, you can make me cluck around like a chicken. And so I started to say, no, it's 100% chicken free guaranteed, and got a little logo made up, and people used to really think that was funny and pull my attention to it and say, oh, I love the whole thing with the chicken free. So last year's Fringe show, now just to give you an idea about what Fringe show, so basically it's my comedy hypnosis show, but for the public, and I performed it last year at one of the biggest festivals in the world, and I ran it for about 25 nights. So, but then that becomes my theatre show that I then tour throughout the year as well. So, because people have been talking about this chicken free, they loved it. Last year's show was just called, it was literally just called 100% chicken free guaranteed, or one of the shows was. So, yeah, but again, that kind of my aim when I first started doing the shows, even from day one, was I didn't want to have a lot of the associations of old hypnosis shows.
Yeah.
And it may be a lot different in the US because it's a much bigger form of entertainment that it is here, but it still did have a lot of old connotations here, swinging watches, mysterious looks, big kind of dark, I'm going to control your mind and all that kind of thing. So I wanted to be as far away from that as possible. So whenever you see my marketing, it'll be bright, it'll be kind of fun, it'll be, I'll tie it through to the hypnosis with the name of the show, but you're not going to see me doing many kind of typical hypnosis looks or things, or if so, it will be out of some kind of fun kind of way of doing it. So I just didn't want to have an old association with what people might be thinking the show is about, which I still battle against. But once they come and see the show, it's a different thing.
Well, I think there's a balance sometimes to giving them a little bit of what they're expecting, because that's what kind of gets them in the door and gets the mindset in there. But at the same time, it's that, what can we do to set it apart? I mean, there's things that I've recently seen, doing some routines that are keeping things very modern, where the one of the trending things right now is doing the mannequin challenge. And here's a video clip of you doing that actually in a show recently. Is there a technique or some sort of mindset you've got to making sure you're keeping it current, making sure you're keeping it, up to date, both for the audience, but also for yourself too?
Yeah, look, I'm a very I do, just not out of professional reason, but just out of personal reason. I love knowing what's going on. I'm very involved with social media, and I'm very involved with always abreast of what's happening, and not like, hey, again, it's not like a robot type thing, like must find local friends with 2 kids. It's just I just enjoy current stuff. So I tend to think, hey, it's a nice tie-in. If people are sharing all these mannequin challenges, well, it's very easy for me to kind of come up with something in a hypno show which I can film and do. And you'll see me there. On my Facebook page, you'll see a running man challenge on a hypnosis. You see a mannequin challenge on hypnosis, and it's that kind of thing. So I'll try and tie some things in. And each year when I do my new theatre show, which starts again with this Fringe Festival in Australia, then I'll try and put some routines which are pertinent to some stuff going on. Like last year we had an emojis routine. There's lots of things which just fall into place, and it could be good for that year, and then it may be gone the next.
Mm-hmm. So what's in the works now? What's coming up next?
Well, funny, actually, just you've caught me this week. We're just actually launching the new shows. So what happens is there's although the behind the scenes we've been working on all the promo and everything for it, actually the embargo actually got lifted just a few days ago, and we make the big announcements. Hey, this is our brand new show. It's going to be on at this venue for these 20 nights or 25 nights. And so I launched the new show, which is called Serving Suggestions, which is just obviously
nice.
man, you know me well enough because we've had some very good pun battles online, I'm sure. But I'm a big fan of the pun, and I just love the fact of serving suggestions, because there's a lot of kind of cooking stuff that is very big at the moment, and then the whole thing of, well, I am doing that, I am serving suggestions. So we've got some really fun photos which tie into the both of those things. Of course, the show's nothing to do with cooking. It's just a hypnosis show.
Just imagining the person in the back of the house going, I thought he was going to cook something.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So we launched that new show, and we've also launched the new version of Hypnosis Experience this week with all the new marketing material and promotional stuff. So that's the new stuff that's kind of coming along for next year.
Outstanding. I love it. Where can people? Yeah. I've got the URL in front of me, and I won't tell you that I keep reading it as Matt the Whale. But
that was when I was using MatthewHale.com.au. It's kind of funny because it's you put that together, it's mattthewhale.com.au. But you can actually now go to matthale.com.au.
Oh, there we go.
And that's that's my official site. But I do love connecting with everyone. So if those of you who are listening now and don't know me, if you want to drop by, say hello, please do. Just contact me through Facebook, probably the easiest. You'll find me across all social media on Hypno Hale. That's whether it's Snapchat, Facebook, Insta, or Twitter. You'll find me under Hypno Hale. Or I'm sure if you search Matt Hale Comedy Hypnotist, you'll find me as well. But I've got some independent stuff for the Clubnosis side of things. But you'll find me answering stuff anywhere. So
outstanding. This has been fantastic. Thanks for joining me this evening for me, this morning for you.
Yeah, I tell you, man. Once you get to the future, I tell you, you're going to love this. I'm literally hovering on my hoverboard right now as we talk this. I'm Bluetoothing to my foot. I'm not using any headphones or anything. It's crazy in the future. You're going to love it.
I'm looking forward to it. All right. Well, I'll see you soon in person.
Cheers.
Eventually.
Thanks for listening to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast at WorkSmartHypnosis.com.
Jason Linett here once again, and I'd highly encourage you, hop online right away and connect with Matt, see his projects. We're going to stick some of the videos of some of the work that he's done up on the show notes over at WorkSmartHypnosis.com. And I'd share, if stage hypnosis is an interest of yours, check this out. I've got an easy link for you to find. Head over to stageconference.com. Now, that link is actually a replay of a webinar that I did with Tommy V and Michael DeShalit talking about the Ultimate Stage Hypnosis Conference. This is a stage hypnosis convention that's going to be happening in Las Vegas in March 2017. You can interact with that replay. You can learn all about that upcoming stage hypnosis convention. Again, simple URL to go to, stageconference.com. And while you're there, stick around for the next 6 days, because Sean Michael Andrews and I are going to be doing the Master Hypnotist course. 6 days of accelerated hypnosis training to make you confident, competent, and unstoppable within your hypnotic skills. Whether you are working with clients on a one-to-one basis, or whether you want to be someone like Matt, who's getting up and really making this work happen confidently and competently on stage, we're going to be sharing with you skills to really make that happen. So 2 places to check out. First of all, over the weekend, that time frame in March, out in Las Vegas, head over to stageconference.com. Some outstanding learning to be had in that webinar replay. You can learn about the Ultimate Stage Hypnosis Conference, and then stick around for the next 6 days for the Master Hypnotist course with myself and Sean Michael Andrews, teaching you outstanding strategies to get better results with your clients, more emphasis, more strength inside of your hypnotic inductions, and as Matt and I just shared, the phrasing of making you more good or better as a hypnotist. Either way, I'll see you soon. Hey, it's Jason here, and reading is lame and videos are awesome. So do this right now. Go ahead and click subscribe right here inside of this video, and that will link you to my YouTube channel, and you will be the first to find out as new information is shared here online. Click subscribe now. Stay in touch. I look forward to hearing of your success very soon.